We'll do a nice, easy, kind of classic session today. We'll start with a couple bell breaths, just to get a little breathing, settle into our bodies and kind of how we're doing today. We'll go into Okinaga and then our main practice. And everything we do, as always, is opt-in, opt-out. So if you need to take a break, leave, come back, do whatever you need to attend to yourself, that is more than welcome. This moment is for all of us to really just dive in. Yeah, and do what you need to focus. That's perfect. So we'll start just by taking a nice breath. Just... take a second to just arrive. Maybe finding a little motion, a little stretch, as we just open up the space, real casual. A little bit of talking before we sink in anywhere. You know, I was thinking a lot this week about the kind of, the magic of dreaming, really broadly, I guess, is kind of been the theme of my week. Just being like, wow, there's so many different ways to dream, so many different ways to, fall into that kind of dreaming realm and space, whatever that looks like for you or feels like for you. But particularly, I was thinking about the kind of ways that dreaming can help erase the concreteness, the finality, the separateness of what this world is. Right? We have the material world, and depending on what you believe, we have all, spirit realms, whatever. But just thinking of how I live my day-to-day life, it can be easy to get stuck in my own four walls, in my own city, in my own problems, in what's happening right in front of me. And while, showing up and being there for the moment is beautiful and important, I think that dreaming sometimes doesn't feel like something we can cultivate or a practice that's really powerful. Welcome, River. We're just getting started. And for me, thinking about dreaming, I've really thought of it as a muscle, something I can explore and build and learn how to exert, right? And so this week I was there's a lot of different meditation dreaming books, depending on what you like. There's a lot of Tibetan yoga, sleep yoga, and things like that. But I was just doing a really simple practice of right before I fall asleep. My days have been very heavy. A couple people some close people die that I've been working with grief work. And so I was trying to figure out how to turn back into knowing things were expansive, knowing not everything is, collapse and endings, but also openings and beginnings and portals. And before I was falling asleep, maybe Wednesday or something, I was really sad that afternoon in a way that didn't feel too bad, but just whoa, I'm carrying a lot of heft, there's a lot of grief around me. And I started to dream about what, I don't know why this popped into my head, but it was the frayed edge of a sweater, right? Thinking of just these little threads. And I was thinking of my grief as just those different strands, those different threads, just kind of blowing in the wind, and maybe one gets pulled and is trailing out. And I was thinking about that right before dreaming, just really trying to imagine what my grief would be reaching out to, if these threads are unraveling into something else, what would it feel like to just let parts of me get pulled away like that, without fear that, at the end of pulling all of those threads from the sweater's gone, technically, right? We're not a shirt shape anymore, but it's still that big pile of thread and yarn or whatever the sweater's made of, right? It's still fully there, transformed, and ready to be, made into something else again. And so I was just sitting with that like picture of an unraveling sweater, of just like pulling the thread slowly and letting all these strands just spread out and, be connected and severed however they may be. And so kind of like an abstract thought, but after that, like 20 minutes of just kind of, I don't know, becoming the thread, becoming the sweater, I fell into kind of a weird dream sleep where I just started, I don't remember the whole dream, but it was just kind of imagery of like lava rivers flowing. Just some different lava flowing, and like, when it gets slow, kind of turns into rock, turns into that hard volcano base, but then it might get hot again underneath from the current and break out and flow into lava again. And it was it wasn't weird in the moment, obviously I was asleep, but the next morning I was like, well, what a weird jump from, an unraveling sweater to just these rivers of lava. But then that whole day I felt so like, I don't know, sunk into the earth. And I was thinking of like, okay, there are molten parts of me. There are rivers of grief running through me that feel like fire, that are made of what fire is made of, right? Of the pre-fire. They're like a living, moving, liquid fire. But my body as the land is built to hold it, right? Where there's too much pressure, a volcano can erupt. Where the molten parts of me have solidified into tectonic plates, even those that feel so stable, push and push and push against each other until there's that shift, that release of pressure, not fixing anything. In fact, generally a big eruption feels kind of chaotic and overwhelming at times, but it's, rather than thinking of it as good or bad, just creating new land, right? Where the plates can no longer push against each other, a whole new island is born. Where the molten lava gets too, hot and voracious and big for its surroundings, the volcano releases and you get an eruption and there's a full, new coating of land on the volcano even. And so, just thinking of the loose threads, not to, make a bad pun between what I'm saying of dreaming doesn't have to be a last result or only something far away from us, right? It can be something we integrate into just our breath. Let me dream of what this next sigh might hold for me. Let me dream in ways that point me towards my own heart, my own pain, my own breath, that bring me back to me. Me as the land, me as the molten river, me as all of it, as all of us. And so today, as we move into some breathing, we move through this. You'll get very tired of me talking about fire by the end of the year, the dragon, but as we move into this dragon year, again, yesterday, or last couple times ago, we did the rivers of fire. Today, we might imagine a little heaviness to our breath as we breathe in, just to see a little churning of heat, perhaps imagining even lava, not burning us, but warming us from that inside. And as we breathe out, almost steam release, we might picture, of really letting that heat go, letting it cool, being in that process of combustion. I think that's a word I've been thinking about alongside conduction, thinking of being a conductor on the Underground Railroad, of conducting my own life, my own energies within me. How might I harness that change? Be there with it. Dream it into being. We'll just take a few breaths in and out, however's most comfortable. Breathing in with the high bell. Out with the low bell. In. Out. Deep breath in. Let the heat swirl in your belly. Let it all go. As you let your breathing return to normal for a few breaths, I invite you to just take a second to notice how you feel. Are you here right now? Do you feel safe in this breath? Without judging our sense of safety, can we dream, perhaps if we don't feel safe? What might I need to bring more safety into this moment? Even if it's just my own hand on my chest. And again, as we move through today, inviting that spirit of, I am the conductor of my own underground experience. This blood, this water running through my veins is being conducted by all the systems within me working together. And as I invite Mother Harriet into this space, as I invite my protectors, as we invite whoever helps us feel held and safe enough to dream for more, we invite the land beneath our feet into our own awareness. Diving into Okinaga, this will be an exercise where we breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, trying to use as little force as possible, and we'll slowly slow down, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Led by the drum, just switching from inhaling to letting the breath go. You might just try to build a little space. Explore the space that's there already. Perhaps even dreaming of being so deep in this breath that it doesn't matter. Even the drum beat. Doesn't matter if we last 10, 15 seconds. It just is this process of conducting the air around us through our systems and then letting them go far beyond. We might take one clearing breath in, letting it go. Inhale. Exhale. Slowly. Trust your breath, resisting that urge to gasp. Relax the container around the breath, the shoulders, the chest. Everything out. Just take a moment to be with your breath. Before we move into our main practice, if you need a visual aid, last week somebody pointed out that the drum looks like the moon, and we'll make our way whatever tree we want to find, whatever, piece of earth, patch of forest that feels cozy to us today. We'll move towards our little trees and imagine ourselves either with our feet planted into the earth or with our, maybe sitting on some roots that are making a little natural seat for us. We can just let the moonlight slowly reach out to us. As we look up, we just passed the Virgo full moon, so the moon's still pretty full, at least in this side of the world. We might imagine it sitting up there in the sky. One of those kind of maybe dark purple, really kind of backlit types of skies where there's no real clouds, but just those kind of thin layers in it. The moon lights them up from the back, but you can still see the moon shining. As we breathe in and out, we can feel the breeze slowly rolling over our skin. Almost like the trees are exhaling. Just for us. As we breathe in and out, however our breath finds us right now, you might start to notice the glow of the moon reaching out towards us. As we breathe in, it's almost like that light joins us through the nostrils, and as we breathe out, we send our own light from deep in our belly straight back out to the moon. We can just take a couple breaths like this, breathing, filling our body with light and then sending it straight back. Perhaps our breath starts to root a little deeper. We feel our lungs expanding in each direction, our diaphragm filling a little. And as we ground down into our seat, we can start to feel our heart space open up a little bit. This light not only flowing in through the nostrils, but kind of like a spotlight now, shining straight into our heart space. And again, we breathe it in, offering back out. As we start to form this heart space connection with the moon, we can stay right here, between us and the moon, sharing this light. Or if it feels comfortable and safe, perhaps we dream a little farther. We imagine our breath, heart space to heart space, with the moon, sharing this light. And then we might even put ourselves in the place of the moon and imagining the light from the sun shining out to it. Those rivers of fire, quite literal, on the sun, leaping out into space. And us, the moon, we take our breath in, drawing from that galactic source of our star. Perhaps the coldness that might have been there in that cool moonlight now shifts to real, visceral heat. We feel like a warm embrace. This breath start to heat. Our heart space, not only this body, but the whole surface of the moon. Sunlit. receiving and casting out to earth. As we breathe in the light of the moon, now our water, our systems as this big, or the light of the sun as this big moon, our breath controls the tides. We receive from the sun, we push and pull with the earth. Again, we can stay here, we can stay in our own bodies, the spot before. We might take a couple more deep breaths, stretching our imagination, dreaming a little bigger. Follow that heart space light all the way into the sun. You might imagine your breath is the swirling heat of the star, inhaling, generating power. Your exhale, the solar flares, reaching out into space. This inhale and exhale, this heart space, is the entire generator of a galaxy, of a solar system. Not only does it not have to be one thing, it cannot be. And so there's no need to look for a box to sort out these feelings or images, but just in the breath. In the heart space, we might spend a moment in this heat, feeling this connection, this exchange. And knowing that that churning of the sun is our own churning. Those rivers of hot grief light up our world. Point us in our dreams of what our deepest longing is. Liberation, connection, coming home. And you might imagine yourself as the sun for this whole sit, as the moon, as your own body, or as something beyond any of those. All three and more. And we'll move slowly into our main practice. Starting to chant the Heart Sutra mantra together before our communal prayers, we'll move into the Sutra of Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha. Gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond, awakening, so be it. In this gone beyond, perhaps we can think of this breath, these rivers of grief and heat, looking for their planetary release. It's just something to breathe in and out with. No way to be, no way to fix it, no way to change it. Just an opportunity to go beyond feeling stuck in one way and into the realization of dreams beyond dreams. Of one, tiny leaf unfurling at the top of a houseplant, and thinking of the different cycles of life all coming together to make that one little thing happen, a dream beyond a dream. the magic of our reality. Today we'll open up with just a minute of drum, take a second to ground, to center, and we'll do kind of a quicker or shorter but slower chanting. Take this time to move, to stretch, to resettle, again, doing whatever feels good to you. Gati paragati parasamgati bodhisvaha gati gati paragati parasamgati bodhisvaha gati gati parasamgati bodhisvaha gati gati paragati parasamgati parasamgati bodhisvaha gati gati paragati parasamgati bodhisvaha just take a moment to feel the resonance of your own voice, of our collective voice filling each room we're in, filling this digital room we're in, right? If we could kind of dream up a location of our collective heart space, I feel like that's where our Zoom room resides. And kind of the connective rivers of my own dreams is all of our breaths swirling together. And taking a posture that feels like offering or holding to you, whether it be palms together on the chest or hands out, anything else. We might say our communal prayers together. May all beings be free. May those suffering experience liberation. May we hold each other through revolution. May we abolish everything that is not love. May we rebirth a free world. Ashe. And before moving into our spiritual, we might just take a couple breaths, exploring just a little touch of stillness, a little touch of silence. We don't get too quiet over here in this sit, but today just inviting in the silence it takes to listen to this moment arise in its fullness. As you take a few breaths, we'll move into our spiritual offering. I'm just typing it in the chat. I forgot to put it in my little sticky note. But feel free to take a little drink of water if you need to. Sorry that took me so long to type. This was like exquisite corpse, if anybody knows that like writing or drawing exercise where you like kind of, add on. This was an exquisite corpse spiritual that like me and a little group made the other day when we were doing like a fire sit and just trying to really sit with like, I don't know, that burning feeling of both being in such deep grief and being in such like a devastating state of longing and dreaming, like knowing there's so much more that we deserve and there's so much more that is to come for us, for our communities, for the way our world works. And so it's real simple, but I'll sing it a couple times and you can all catch on just like always. And really the imagery that we were using for that was the same thinking of the transformation of fire. The fact that burning is both collapse and birth in the same act. That combustion, that moment that everything shifts. And the fact that that's all the time, again and again and again, whether we can appreciate that or not. And so, I don't know, this one makes less sense, I think, logically than any of the other ones, but it feels real good, so hopefully it feels good to y'all too. So, let's take a couple breaths as we move into this last little section. Finding ourselves in this room, in the forest, wherever we are, wherever feels right and natural. Breathe in, the world burns. Breathe out, my dreams turn. Breathe in, people learn. Breathe out, it burns and turns. Breathe in, the world burns. Breathe out, my dreams turn. Breathe in, people learn. Breathe out, it burns and turns. Breathe in, the world burns. Breathe out, my dreams turn. Breathe in, people learn. Breathe out, it burns and turns. Breathe in, the world burns. Breathe out, my dreams turn. Breathe in, people learn. Breathe out, it burns and turns. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Sit with that breath. The closing of the spiritual, just the last line. It burns and turns. The grief, the day, this breath, in and out. It burns and turns. It burns and turns. It burns and turns. May each and every prayer, spoken and unspoken, given birth to in our hearts and yet to be give birth to, may we give a little shake and feel them just kind of radiate out into the space, right? As silly as it feels, breathe it in. Shake it out, right? There's a reason we see horses, right? One of the most sensitive big creatures, shake it out when they get frightened or when they feel a lot, right? There's something to that. Just participating with just kind of movement of the space around me. I might bring that shaking into a little tapping, maybe, of the scalp or of the back of the neck, a little massage. Ooh. Perhaps I rub my hands together in a final act of heat making, of burning and turning. Place the palms on the eyelids and take a deep breath. And let them just melt. Drop the shoulders, drop the jaw. Release, release, release. Thank you all for bringing your breath, your energy, your own protectors and lineages into this space so we can do a little breathing and dreaming together, however that looked like for us today. I've been Eli. Perhaps I'll continue to be Eli, who knows? I've been known to change my name. But I love you all so much, and I am grateful to sit with you today. That wraps it up for me.